Shall we now? All right, let me turn this music down, get it started. Yes, Tyre, it's still a morning show no matter what time I start, because I say so. Can y'all hear me? I think you can. Good. So, my schedule is going to be a little weird. I have to manage pain and other weird things, but it gets better every day. Happy to have y'all here who's made it so far, and who knows if I go do this at different times, maybe we'll get some new eyes on here every once in a while. But I love the old eyes. I appreciate those who already been here and whatnot. So anyway, got a lot to talk about today. Why can't I hear myself? There we go. Got a lot to talk about today. And obviously it's that anniversary again, which I'm not going to spend as much time as I usually do. Not because it's not important and not because the president is ignoring it, but just because there's so much else. And I do have some solemn feelings. I talk about where I was every year during this day, and we'll see some of the memorial that's happening right now, but very briefly. Anyway, like I said, but the biggest thing though is that it looks like some of the usual suspects are starting to figure it out. And what I mean by figuring it out, they're figuring out what a disaster their sacred cows are. So that's what we're going to try to do it. That's what we're going to try to talk about a lot today. There's several examples, but we're going to go through a lot of news and get to that after or at least my friend Johnny over here plays the intro. Johnny, stop that music! Ooh, what a reaction. That was amazing. Play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Knight.
Can I get a hell yeah? All right, I can't hear you. I said, can I get a hell yeah? All right, let's get the show started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Knight on the internet, where we heal a little more each day. My leg's getting better, but it still hurts, and not terribly as much, but you gotta just work your way through it. But the beautiful thing, now, for those of you who may not know, I had a hip surgery. They cut off part of my femur and cut off part of my hip bone and put some new parts in there. So I'm like Steve Austin. And what's nice about what's happening right now is I don't feel pain in the joint anymore. That's where the pain used to be. Now it's just in my leg, where they cut a 14-inch wide swath through my leg and then manipulated that motherfucker around. But, that is all getting better because it's just muscle that repairs itself, and it takes some time, and I understand that. So I'm good. I'm fine with that. It's going well, even though, it's just it's just a challenge, you know what I mean? So anyway, real quick, even before we've gotten started today, wait, what the hell happened there? That's not that. Good Lord. Oh, because this didn't go with it. There we go. Let's put that over there, because what I was going to say is GunFox61's already on the ball. Thank you for sponsoring the show, GunFox61. You are! What the hell's going on there? Let's try that again.
You are
the new Streamlabs superstar sponsor of the day. Yes, thank you, GunFox. Dropping a couple of Hamiltons in the tip jar, which is great, because I am not... Oh, there's my... Hold on. That's my time. That's my alarm to take my Tylenol. Hold up. Got to do some drugs here. Hold on. I'm going to do them live on the show. It's just Tylenol, though. But, yeah, I knew this was going to happen, and I probably should have Probably should have done it. Just waited to start the show, but I have to. I'm on this time schedule. I have to take all these stupid medications, but I'm down to 4 now. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm down to 5, but one I don't just take before I go to bed. There's my Tylenol. 2 are over the counter, 2 are prescribed, one's a molester. I don't know. I started with 9, and that. Have you ever tried to manage 9 medications that have all different times or intervals that you have to take it on? By the way, I do have my cup, but there's no coffee in it. Just some orange juice because I can't drink caffeine for a while. Which meant I couldn't even have a Coke the other day either. That was kind of a bummer. But anyway, Gunfox has dropped a couple of articles in the tip jar. We'll get to those right after we say good morning to everybody. Glad you're all joining me. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, share the stream. Thank you, Sound on Bold Nation. You've already done it like you always do. Greatly appreciated. All right. First in the chat over on Rumble would be Avocados W gets the bell. Yeah. Well done, sir. Also, good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg, Sully209, and Phantom Dog Fart. That's everyone over on Rumble, but I'm sure there's more people watching over there. All right, let's see, how many people got over there? It doesn't tell me yet. Let me see if I can refresh this, and if it'll tell me how many people are watching on Rumble. Did they move it? Oh, they did. Yeah, it's only 4, but that's okay. Every once in a while, we get a few more than that. On YouTube, first in the chat. Oh no, this is gonna mess up, isn't it? Damn it. Who was first today? It wasn't the usual. It was Robert Gruber gets the bell. That's a new one. That's a great first. Welcome, Robert Gruber. Welcome back, sir. And then also, I got, thank you, Gunfox61. Still dropping the dimes in the tip jar. Dropping a deuce, which we'll clean up later, and I'll read that in a minute after we say hi to everybody. Also on YouTube, good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg, Avocados Diabli, Aaron Meredith, Rotten Corpse, Robert, okay, I got Robert. Lord Stanhope, good morning, JB, what up? Hang on, where is it? Right there. The Grand Inquisitor, Tyre Alexander. I love doing that. Good morning also to Cool Frog's in the house. By the way, Friday night, I'm going to be hanging out with Cool Frog on his channel. I'll put those notes in Twitter and locals and other places. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to just do an open. I think you said a call-in show, right? We're going to do a call-in show that day. Good morning, Somnimal Nation. What's up? Listening and lurking. Nice. Simon Wolfwood's in the house. Jesse Leon. Anonymity T2, a.k.a. the Terminator. Good morning also to Tribute Liberty, my bud from the internets. And let's see. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? Is everybody else? Is that everybody so far? Well, that looks like everybody so far. So please share the stream. Hit the like button some point during the show. I'll remind you a couple times. Also to remind you that in the chat. And then you sponsor the show. The show goes because you throw money at me every occasionally so I can pay my bills. And I appreciate that. So if you can do that, if you're able, great. If you're not, that's great too. I understand. It's the economy sucks and we're living out the world of Biden. Okay, so now real quick, Gunfox also dropped another deuce in the tip jar, who says, "It's another year we will never forget or forgive. I say we pull what we did to Japan back in World War II. Whoa, that's getting heavy. We firebomb the heretics and show them the might of American empire, then drop a few Moabs on their cities, one city for each of for each towers." Now, I say that's a little bit extreme, but we absolutely need to keep our diligence and not fucking fall asleep again, which is what we did before 9/11. And I don't know, clearly, isn't it funny how bold the world gets when the leaders don't care about us that much? You get my drift there. It's just funny how, like right now, I'm shocked that something hasn't happened under this sponge brain, shit pants here. And it's just, I don't know. Cryptic's in the house, even though he says he's not here. I see you, Cryptic. I see you, Cryptic. Cryptic's over on Rumble. I see you. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention sponsor the show. You can sponsor through Super Chats or Rumble Rants, which are fine. Although, if you don't mind, if you're going to help us out, I prefer it on Streamlabs just because it's easier for me to control. And it's also, you don't spend as much money on their administrating as they take a lot more money that you're giving to me and giving it to somebody else. So any three is fine. I'm happy. Also, Venmo, Cash App are in the description of every video, so on and so forth. So let's get into, Biden's paid them off already. I'm just telling you. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. Let's get into the articles though, because there's so much today. I really can't do this for more than an hour and maybe 15 minutes, hopefully. Famous last words. I don't know if I've ever been able to keep it under an hour and a half, which is my normal scheduled time. But we're going to try. We're going to do our best. A lot of it's quick hit stuff that I'm just going to laugh about. All right, so let's start with the articles that Gunfox sent me, because these are interesting, and I appreciate that. By the way, if you ever have articles you want to send me, drop a deuce in the tip jar and put it in there, and we'll go through it. Or a deuce or more. Gunfox has been very generous to me, and I appreciate you over the years that you've been watching here. Anyway, so let's start with this one. An article from this is CNN. Shall we do this one? What's this nonsense? Oh, good God. Gunfox. What is this? This was from just a couple days ago. I think Biden's trying to start a war. He's trying to start another war. Look at this. U.S. seizes nearly 1 million barrels of Iranian oil allegedly bound for China. When they say seizes, what? When they say seizes, what does that mean? Let's read this. The U.S. government seized, as in just took it from, acquired by force, nearly 1 million barrels of Iranian crude oil allegedly bound for China, according to newly unsealed court documents and a statement released by the Department of Justice on Friday. Oh, so this happened some time ago. When did this happen? Let's find out. This is the first ever criminal resolution involving a company that violated sanctions by facilitating the illicit sale and transport of Iranian oil, according to the DOJ. So they're saying that they were doing this illegally? The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization, allegedly shipped more than 980,000 barrels of oil, the press release stated. The DOJ claim, excuse me, that's my belly going, you gotta eat something, eat some more or whatever, claimed that multiple entities affiliated with Iran's IRGC, which is the what do they call it? The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the IRGC QOD's force were involved in the scheme designed to disguise the origin of the oil and illegally sell it to China, according to court documents. Okay, I'm kind of get it. I'm kind of getting it here now. The court filings also show allegations that profits from oil sales support the IRGC's full range of malign activities, including the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, their means of delivery, support for terrorism, and both domestic and international human rights abuses. In April, the company operating the ship carrying the oil, Empire Navigation, pleaded guilty to conspiring to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Okay, so this is okay, now I get it, but still. Somebody's going to get mad about losing 1 million barrels, not gallons, of oil in China. That's interesting. But looks like it was being sent there. I guess there's got to be. Look, international law to me is a strange thing because I'm not so cool on any international body, so-called international body, having any power or control over any other sovereign nation. I just don't, and I'm torn on this. I'm glad they I should say this. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they pirated away from some, nefarious peoples. But I'm still a skeptic of international law. Good morning, Scribe Light, Dog Thrapple. 1 barrel of oil equals 55 gallons. Yes. So anyway, so basically 55 million gallons of oil, but a barrel. So anyway, that's interesting. Thank you, Gun Fox, for sending me that one. I also got another one from Gun Fox. I haven't even looked at it. I have not even looked at it. I am flying absolutely cold on this one. But this is, okay, so this is about the press coast. Yeah, I have some stuff with this, but let's do Gun Fox versions first. We'll come back to this afterwards. So Biden was in Vietnam for whatever reason, and he's going to Alaska instead of joining the commemoration of 9/11, which, I don't know, maybe, here, let's do a poll. Let's do a poll on that really quick here, because where's the poll? Oh, what happened to the poll thing? I can't do polls anymore? What the hell? Oh, here we go. There we go. Start a poll. Is Biden let's see. Biden going to Alaska a slap in the face to 9/11 Okay, there's my question. My question is Biden going to Alaska a slap in the face to 9/11 commemoration and America? And if you want to, tell me why or why not in the chat. I think it's probably not good optics for Sponge Braid Shit Pants to skip out on 9/11 stuff, especially because he's not very popular already. And this is just crazy. And especially he's fucking with Alaskans already. Schifferbrains doesn't give a shit about the U.S. I don't think so either. I don't think he always knows where he is. So that's that too. Anyway, so here's the article Gunfox sent me. Biden calls climate deniers lying dog-faced pony soldiers.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
And talks about Indians and John Wayne at a very bizarre press cons with whispers walking around and jokes about softball questions from an approved list of 4 reporters. Holy shit. President Biden whispered and walked about the stage, and he used the now famous phrase, lying dog-faced pony soldiers.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
While taking questions on Sunday night in Hanoi, Vietnam, from a set list of reporters. Yes, they gave him a list. You know how they give him a list. Hello, Jen T. What's up? And hello, Renee Mayette. What's up? Yeah, he had a list of supporters. After spending 2 days in India for the G20 Leaders Summit, Biden jetted to Vietnam Sunday to talk to the communists because, he needed to be around his people and to upgrade the country's diplomatic ties, and ended the day with a press conference. In what was supposed to be a show of stamina, Biden is circumnavigating the globe in 5 days. The 80-year-old commander-in-chief joked about not knowing if it was morning or night, and ended the 26-minute event by saying, "I'm going to bed." Hello, Bale and Bobby, too. He regaled reporters with a story he says is from a John Wayne movie and features the Indians, not the ones he just met with, who don't buy it when a Union soldier says everything will be good if they don't go back to the reservation. So he meant the casino Indians, not the call center Indians. And the Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union soldier and says, "He's a lying dog-faced pony soldier."
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Not, oh, good God. Well, there's a lot of lying dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming, but not anymore. This is Biden talking. All of a sudden, they're all realizing it's a problem, the president said, whispering into the mic. They're realizing it's a problem. That's how he did it. The president had been asked if he was concerned that there was no agreement on fossil fuels that came out of the G20 Leaders Summit. Good! Good! I don't want them to agree on anything. I don't give a fuck if they agree. Let's not worry about the other fuckers. Let them deal with their own shit and we'll deal with ours, and we're going to do it our way because we're Americans and we're kind of like that. Sorry to my Canadian and Irish and non-American friends out there, but I don't give a shit, Everyone fix their own problems. You can't fix anyone else's problems. You don't fix your own. That's why when you're on a plane and they give you a little speech, that's why they tell you to put your own mask on if an emergency before you put your child's mask. Because if you're fumbling around trying to put your child's mask on and you pass out, you're not good for shit for anybody anymore. And you and your child will probably die of whatever inhalation or lack of pressure, whatever oxygen that you get stuck with. So fix your own problems before you try to fix anybody else. Good morning, Selected Boy.
Yeah, boy.
So anyway, Sunday's bizarre moment came at a press conference that started more than an hour late and kicked off by the president acknowledging that his aides told him who he would be calling on. I'll bet you $1 to a donut. Okay. I'll bet you to $1 to a donut that he's not supposed to say that shit out loud. They gave me a list of who to call on because this is a press conference and I just can't call on random people because they might ask me questions that nobody told me what the question was and I won't have my set answer on the teleprompter. Dumb motherfucker. Hello, Unacceptable Views. Another one of my fine Canadian friends. So they gave me 5 people here, Biden said, returning to his custom of both calling from and speaking about the list apologetically because it's a press conference. You're supposed to take whatever questions they get, not the ones they planned out for your sorry ass. Anyway, oh my God, wait a minute. Let's just watch the beginning of this press conference.
I am sincere about.
Oh, they're not showing it. Hold up. Then he said, now, who's speaking here, okay? Think about who's speaking as I talk to you right now. The President of the United States of America said, I'm just following my orders here. He said at another point as he looked at his list to call another news organization name as reporters in the audience yelled and waved their hands frantically to be called on. This is not a good look. I'm just following my orders here. Now you guys, everyone who watches me already understands this, why I call them the handlers. Because Joe Biden is not running the executive branch of the federal government of the United States of America. He's not in the least. He is not leading it. He's doing what he is told. They made a pact. They had to have made a pact. If I could drink right now, I would be just pouring myself shots right now. He made a pact with someone. Hey, we're going to make you the president of the United States because you've been wanting to do this for 45 years. But you're going to have to do what we tell you, or we're going to just throw you under the bus, which a lot of times you notice how they're giving him hints that they are kind of trying to throw him under the bus with the stuff with his sons. They all knew this shit. They knew every bit of this, and they know that they can make him go out as a disgrace, and his legacy of being just a dumbass, but at least he was the president, dumbass, would be shot if they fucked with him. They, as Chuck Schumer said, you mess with them, they can get you 7 ways to Sunday. He's just a puppet. It's Obama 3.0. Absolutely Obama 3.0. What do you mean I'm just following my orders here? You're the president of the fucking United States. Answer some damn questions, or can't you answer them? You don't have the talking points on your note cards? Motherfucker. I'm swearing a lot today. I shouldn't be swearing so much. I might, who knows? They might restrict this to kids. But don't do that, YouTube, because that's bullshit. I know your guidelines backwards and forwards as many times as you fucked with me. This ain't it. Yes, you did get me, Gunfox. I see ya. This rant was already coming. I had it ready, but whatever. All right, so questions were China heavy, and Biden skipped answering queries when they were piggybacked on another question. And he didn't address Russia or North Korea going into business together, nor Ukraine's discontent with the G20 statement on war, which didn't name Russia as the aggressor. That's a whole shit show over there. Y'all, they played y'all, and a lot of you people with the little yellow and blue flags in your bios on whatever social media, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Okay, so the choice of journalists also appeared to have Biden mostly ignoring a group of U.S. print and TV reporters who were girding to get into domestic concerns like his low poll numbers due to his advanced age and possible indictment of his son Hunter on a gun charge. Okay, now I want to smack the Daily Mail in the mouth for this line. Okay, listen, because they're saying on concerns, domestic concerns like his low poll numbers. Okay, that's one. But the low poll numbers aren't due to his advanced age. Low poll numbers due to his advanced age and a possible indictment of his son. No, his low poll numbers is because our economy's fucked. No one can afford to live. Well, I mean, you can afford to live, but it's, you can't. There's a margin of error is pretty tight now, and because of the fucked up social policies that this White House is pushing. It has nothing to do with his advanced age. I don't care if someone's 90 and competent. I don't care if they're the president of the United States. But old sponge-brained shit pants here is not competent. And it's clear he's not competent. And even, oh my God, even the world leaders who are so excited that Trump is gone look at this dude sideways. It's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing. So anyway, those polls show a broad concern about his age going into the second term. With a survey last week, AP NORC showing 77% of Americans, including 69% of Democrats, believe Biden is too old to run for re-election. It's not because he's too old. It's because his individual issues with age are hampering his ability to do anything. Plus, he's not really the real president. There's a committee. But it has nothing to do with his chronological age other than the effects of age are affecting him more than it does some other people. There are plenty of people my grandmother, when she was 88 years old, okay, my grandmother was brilliant, still at 88, and walked all the time and active and doing this and traveling and whatnot. But the effects of age really got to her about the time she turned 90. Okay? Those effects of age just come over a certain time. Sometimes they hit you hard and fast. Sometimes they take a long time. Sometimes they start at 65. Sometimes they start at 85. Sometimes they start at 95. Donald Trump's 77 years old, but he's running around the country doing rallies, coming back and forth for court cases here and there and talking and answering every question any reporter asks him, goes on and does the interviews and shit. When Biden was 77, which is the start of his presidency, he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that when he ran for president. So the effects of age are different on different people. For Joe Biden, yeah, he is too old to be president. Is Donald Trump too old to be president? No. Because Donald Trump doesn't have the deteriorating effects of age showing as much as Joe Biden. And I think, whatever. So you got the idea? You got it. I'm sure you do. I'm just talking to the choir. Looks like only the choir's here today, so that's okay. I'm waiting for someone who's not the choir to join here, but, it's okay. I don't care. All right, so anyway, what did I do there? Oh, I meant to do this. There we go. So, is there any more I want to read about that article? Well, I'll talk more about it because I have more another article about it. So, what the hell is this? That's not supposed to be there. Well, let's see what's going back here. Give me a second. How did I move that over there? Okay, let's move this back where it belongs. I'll move it back where it belongs, where the eagles fly on a mountain high. All right, more stuff going on in the world. Let's Well, while we're on this topic, let's do this topic first. So we'll stick to this topic because there's a whole bunch of stuff about Joe Biden, and we'll get that. By the way, the main thrust of the show today, are they figuring it out yet? There's a lot of entities out there figuring out that some of the stuff that's happening right now is just fucked. We'll get to it, I promise. Anyway, let's get back to a little more Joe Biden here, though. Just a few articles. We'll do skim them and move on. In the Daily Caller, Joe Biden's 9/11 Alaska trip is a slap in the face to the state and to the nation. So the Biden administration has been flying cabinet and sub-cabinet members to and from Alaska all summer, from Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to Interior Secretary Deb Haaland. Oh, fuck. I just made that up. Oh my God. I'm going straight to hell. If you get it, put a 1 in the chat. Okay. So, EPA Administrator Michael Reagan and Health Assistant Secretary Rachel Levine. Why do they keep talking about Rachel fucking Levine? I'm sorry. The dude is, the only reason they talk about him, her, it, whatever, is because he's trans. God, dog. And it's been an impressive parade of diversity, equity, and inclusion, sock puppets who regurgitate the party line. The big guy himself arrives in the state on Monday to, oddly enough, commemorate the anniversary of 9/11 terrorist attacks on the United States. Because I'm sure he thinks that's where it happened. I'm guessing that's where it happened. Good jump. The Twin Towers over in Fairbanks, and those planes, came by and poured some fertilizer and their insecticide over them. That was a terrible day in September 2011. Anyway, now Biden's trip to Alaska is merely an afterthought that is also a travel convenience for him as he fits in a short wreath-laying ceremony at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson because Air Force One needs to top off on the way back from communist Vietnam. Jaber, which is the Air Force Base, has little to no actual connection to the events of 9/11, 2001, other than the fact that our military members were put on high alert, as were all military personnel across the. So he went to Vietnam after the G20 instead of coming back to be home in time for the for 9/11 commemoration. So since there's a refueling stop in Alaska, he's going to drop a wreath there. Fucking brilliant. That's brilliant. Brilliant. So anyway, the reason it's a slap in the face to Alaska is he pulled some oil leases out of Alaska, and Alaskans hate him. And he sent a bunch of his cronies up there to push a Democratic Party line on that. And they aren't having it. The people in Alaska are like, fuck you. But anyway, so they go to refuel at an Air Force base in Alaska. He's going to lay a wreath at an Air Force base that has nothing to do with 9/11. Well planned out there, senior staff. Okay, moving on. Now, there's a flurry of articles. There's a flurry of articles, though, in Front Page Magazine about, and I'm not going to go through them, but I'll put them in the links today. But I'm just going to give you some headlines to show you what it's like. Biden's betrayal of 9/11. Biden robbed 9/11 families, freed an alternate 9/11 hijacker, and gave $2 billion to the Taliban. Now he's boycotting the official commemoration. And is this Robert Spencer? No, it's Dan Greenfield. Their Front Page is highly critical of Biden already, but on the 22nd anniversary of September 11th, the president will be in Alaska instead of at any sites where the attacks took place because he was delayed by a visit to Vietnam. Yep, that's priorities. Hello, Resolute Germ, what's up? You have nearly aged today, Vietnam Communist Party General Secretary Trong, who was 79, praised Biden. Biden called Vietnam a friend and urged moving from the past. Why? I don't know. So anyway, that's one of them. And then their second one is at September 11, Biden is going to Alaska. Clearly, as far as old Joe is concerned, America could go to hell. I think that's the Robert Spencer article. Yes, it is. Just the first paragraph, a doddering corruptocrat who is currently serving as the alleged president of the United States plans to mark the 22nd anniversary of the deadliest jihad attacks in American history and one of the most significant in the history of the entire world by getting about as far away as he can get from the site of the attacks while remaining in the United States. Old Joe will be spending September 11th, 2023 in Alaska. Okay. Now, again, it's not because, well, it's because instead of coming home from the G20 to commemorate 9/11, he went to Vietnam. I'm sure that was just the most important trip he could have taken. I'm sure it is the most important trip he could have taken. On Front Page Magazine, again, I said it's a flurry of Front Page magazines. Articles just talk about 22 years later, the freedom that 9/11 hijackers hated is slipping away from us with terrifying speed. Yeah, if the primary purpose was for them to divide us or break us or whatever, they didn't do the job, but we're doing it ourselves. Okay, so you can read those 3 articles on your own. Again, at the end of the show every day, every time I do a show, I put the links of everything we looked at and sometimes more in the links in the description of the both on Rumble and YouTube, and I also drop them in the chat. I don't do it before the show. I suppose I could do it now. If you want to see all the links, now that I have today I have, well, who knows what I can bring up. The only reason I don't do it before or during the show usually is because a lot of times we'll find new links to open if we happen to see something. For example, Gunfox's articles wouldn't have made the links had I done the links before the show. So at the end of the show, I'll do it during the outro. All these links will be in a single link called the one tab link. You click the link and it'll just give you one page listing everything we went through. And then it'll also be in the description of both YouTube and Rumble. So let's move on here. What's this here? What do I have here? So here's just a little short flurry of articles that are happening in the news, and then we'll get to our main topic today. Speaking of 9/11, Ron DeSantis has stated, why is that over like that? Hang on, let's fix it too. Let's fix that. There we go. Ron DeSantis points to renewed terrorism threat on the southern border on the 9/11 anniversary. Now, here's something fascinating. Because, as you know, we talk about the border occasionally on this show. And even though I've been gone for a while, I talked about it the last time here. A lot of these people coming across our border, okay, there's, people say, oh, they're refugees from Central America and places in South America. They're war-torn this and war-torn that and drug dealers and yada, yada, yada. There's supposed to be people who could walk here. And yet, so many of our... so many of our new fellow occupants of this land that we call the United States of America, who've come here in nefarious ways, are not from anywhere they can walk to from. Okay, so we're finding Chinese people, we're finding people from India, we're finding people from Senegal, we're finding people from the Middle East. They're finding people from all sorts of places who just should not even be here, even though they process them and let them stick around for an appeal hearing. Some of these motherfuckers, if you had to go across, like I said, my new thing, if you had to cross water to sneak into our southern border, get the fuck out. That should be an automatic nope. Nope. They're sending you on a plane right back to your own place. Okay? Unless it was like war refugees that we approved of ahead of time. For example, some of these people who from Ukraine who were stuck out of Ukraine. One our waitress the other night is someone from Ukraine, and is working here, and she was a doctor in Ukraine, but she's working as a waitress just because she's stuck here because of the war over there. And I was like, okay, I guess I don't mind that. That was planned in advance. We approved those refugees from somewhere else that you had to cross water to get here, but the ones who are just coming through our border in the south, if you cross water, you had to leave. I don't care if it's from Haiti or wherever from. Whoever it is, you get the fuck out. You're going home immediately. There's no appeal hearing for your asylum application. So anyway, putting a spotlight on current problems surrounding illegal immigration, the Republican presidential candidate told the Washington Examiner that he believes the border crisis has made us more vulnerable to a terrorist attack. Oh, you think? Since we don't know where they're coming from, they could be coming from anywhere. I think there's a good bet that somebody that come across the southern border will commit an act of terrorism. He noted that people from countries across the globe have been apprehended at the U.S.-Mexican border. 9/11 wasn't an immigration issue, he said. A lot of these guys should not have been in the country and had overstayed their visas and whatnot. In the early morning, okay, then he's going on to what happened there. But he's right. He's 100% right. It is, on 9/11 especially, we should be saying, okay, shouldn't we know exactly who's in our country and why and where they came from? Like, normal immigration procedures. And we're not doing it. We're not even, again, I'm very confident there is a literal tourism industry that brings people into Mexico so they can cross our border illegally. I'm convinced of it. Not just someone said last time I talked about this. Yeah, the coyotes have expanded their range. They've expanded their range to international borders. Okay. Moving on. Other news. Remember that dad that got arrested at a school board meeting in Virginia? Well, Glenn Youngkin did the right thing and has granted him an absolute pardon. Perfect. That's the way it should be. Good for him. Scott Smith, let's see. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin on Sunday granted an absolute pardon to the father who was arrested at a school board meeting after the superintendent lied about his daughter's rape by a skirt-wearing boy. The pardon says that in June 2021, Scott Smith exercised his constitutional right to attend a public meeting of the London County School Board to observe the proceedings, during which time a community member threatened to spread false and malicious information about Smith's business with intent to damage his reputation. After ensuing verbal confrontation, Scott Thomas Smith was charged with obstruction of justice and disorderly conduct, and Smith was quickly convicted, even though an appeals court later disqualified the prosecutor due to concerns about the integrity of the prosecution. The pardon continues. So here's the declaration itself. Whereas Scott Thomas Smith has been publicly and falsely accused of domestic terrorism and hate crimes for attempting to advocate for his daughter, a victim of sexual assault, I've decided it's just and appropriate to grant this absolute pardon that reflects Scott Thomas Smith's factual innocence. So there we go. Again, good for Glenn Youngkin. That shit should have never happened. All right, moving on. In pajamas, PJ Media today. Now, here's some of the opposite of what that was. This is fucked up. And it's your justice system in action when it's controlled by, excuse me. Well, I don't know what the fuck's going on here, but this is nuts. Because this is in North Dakota, I think. Your justice system at work. Leftist who ran over and killed a Republican, quote, Republican extremist teenager gets just 5 years in prison. Now this is how you get 5 years in prison. This should be first degree murder. You intentionally take your car and run over a kid. Uncle Bobbity, what's up? What's going on, man? Nice to see ya. Holy shit. Oh, good morning. Great to see you back, Mr. P-Dog. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And thank you, Renee and Mike Savage. I shouldn't be sneezing on camera. All right. STB, send them back. Oh, dude. That could be on new, what is it? What do you call it when you do that? Initials, something, acronym for when we talk about immigration. Anyway. This is nuts. The two-tier justice system, absolutely. Joe Biggs, a member of the Proud Boys, who dared to shake a fence at the Capitol on January 6, 2021, has just been sentenced to 17 years in prison for doing so. And on Friday, a leftist thug named Shannon Brandt was also sentenced. Brandt ran over and killed the teenager, Kayla Ellingson, because he thought Ellingson was a Republican extremist. Because he thought Caleb Ellingson was a Republican extremist. Because he thought this teenager was a Republican extremist. For that, Brandt will serve 5 years in prison, minus almost a year that he's already served under house arrest. It would be fitting if Brandt and Biggs could be sentenced to the same prison so that Brandt could say goodbye to Biggs when he gets freed and thank his lucky stars that another Republican extremist is safely behind bars. Oh, that's a little sarcasm. This happened in Fargo, of all places. I'm like, what the hell is... now look, I like Doug Burgum. I think he's a great governor over there. Is Fargo like... Is there a little part of Fargo that is like Austin, Texas, where, you know, the juries do crazy shit? Fargo, North Dakota's KVVR reported that after Brandt completes his ridiculously light sentence and whatever portion of it he actually does serve before some leftist judge springs him, he will then serve a period of supervised release. Presumably this will include supervision while he's driving, in case any other Republican extremists dare to venture out into the streets while this maniac is behind the wheel. Brandt, according to KVVR, was initially charged with intentional homicide. He went over into the sidewalk to run the kid over. Of course it was intentional. He was initially charged with intentional homicide in the case, which was altogether fitting and proper, as it was based upon a state trooper's report that Brandt and Ellingson had gotten into a political argument which escalated. However, that report was later discounted, but not before conservative political figures, including former President Donald Trump and some media outlets, seized on it to advance a narrative of left-wing violence. Why was the report discounted? Was that decision also politically motivated? After all, court documents note that Brandt stated that the pedestrian called some people and Brandt was afraid they were coming to get him. Brandt admitted to state radio that he hit the pedestrian and that the pedestrian was part of a Republican extremist group. I guess he thought so. Who cares? Even if he was, let's say he was part of a Republican extremist group. I don't even know what the fuck a Republican extremist group is, but let's say he was. Does that mean you can intentionally run him over and kill him? A teenager? Is that the law now? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Unless you're a fellow leftist who wants to pretend that this sort of thing doesn't happen. The state medical examiner's office later concluded it was an accident. And that Brandt was trying to escape a confrontation with Ellingson when he ran him over. Holy shit. What a coincidence. Brandt would be involved in an accident involving someone with whom he just had a political argument. Brandt's attorney, Mark Fries, insists that his man stayed on the scene after hitting Ellingson, but according to a September 22nd report in Fox News, Brandt fled the scene. If that is accurate, it is odd behavior if the whole thing was an accident. Why wouldn't he stick around so as to emphasize that he was horrified at the accident, sorry that it didn't happen, and ready to be... This is nuts! I'm at a loss for words. Fuck that guy, man. Just fuck that guy. Jesus. Lord, sweet Jesus. All right, moving on. Y'all heard about what's going on in New Mexico. I'm sure you've been paying attention to. I hadn't been until I saw this article this morning. One of my buddies actually pointed this out to me. The governor of New Mexico thinks she has the power to suspend the Second Amendment under an emergency decree. Now, this is fucking fascinating. During the worst COVID lockdowns in 2020 pushed by the Trump administration, many states and localities issue emergency orders restricting civil liberties and constitutional rights, often in completely irrational ways. We covered a lot of those cases, particularly the negative treatment given church service compared to other gatherings. And of course, BLM protests were given a complete pass. A lot of emergency orders started off short term, then were renewed. 20 days to stop the spread became 20 months. Republican governors fought back like Brian Kemp and Ron DeSantis. And they were excoriated by the media and the Trump administration, while governors who capitulated, like Kristi Noem in South Dakota, escaped scrutiny. Democrat governors, particularly in California and New York, were flush with hubris and power. Oh, don't forget Michigan! That crazy cunt. Kent, I said, not cunt. Kent. That crazy Kent. Hello, Shrapnel. What's up? So, in New Mexico. This is what she tweeted. Governor said, today I signed an executive order declaring gun violence a public health emergency. To my fellow citizens, get loud, step up, demand change from your neighbors, from your friends, from your communities, from your elected leaders. Enough is enough. More coming from me tomorrow. Then, that was her tweet, she issued an emergency order. Okay, the emergency order right here. This is crazy. She thinks the state level she can circumvent the Constitution. Public Health Order, New Mexico Department of Health, Secretary Patrick M. Allen. Public Health Emergency Order imposing temporary firearm restrictions, drug monitoring, and other public safety measures. And this is it. Whereas, for the reasons stated in Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's Executive Order 2023, blah, 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 gun violence and drug abuse currently constitute statewide public health emergencies, as defined in the Public Health Emergency Response Act. Whereas, pursuant of those executive orders, I've begun collaborating with New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, the New Mexico Department of Public Safety, and the Governor's Office to provide an effective and coordinated response to these public health emergencies. Whereas, the New Mexico Department of Health possesses legal authority pursuant to the Public Health Act, MSSA, blah, 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 section this and that, and yada, 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 and inherent constitutional police powers of the New Mexico state government to preserve and promote public health and safety, to maintain and enforce rules of a condition of public health importance. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So this is the Public Health Department. The New Mexico Department of Health is basically issuing this order under the Emergency Act. By calling it an emergency, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You don't have to follow the Constitution. Apparently, they think, because they did so during the stupid 19, which is starting to lose some cases themselves, but we'll get to that later. Whereas temporary firearm restrictions, drug monitoring, and other public safety measures are necessary to address the current public health emergencies. Now, do you consider, when someone says public health, okay, public health, do you consider accidents and, for example, people being shot, are those public health? Or are those incidents that require medical attention? I think they're two different things. By the way, if poll ended here, is Biden going to Alaska a slap in the face to 9/11 commemoration and in America? 74 views says yes. We're going to end that poll. Are accidents are all things that require medical attention public health? I don't believe it is. Public health is disease. Things like that. Things that cause public health problems. Not if somebody has a car accident, I don't consider car accidents public health. But what they're saying here is anything that would require medical attention is a public health issue. So can they restrict, under this emergency? Well, there's an epidemic of auto accidents. So the Department of Public Health, now we can tell you that we're going to restrict the speed limit to 25 miles per hour for all cars everywhere in our state. Can they do that too now under this? Please, that's not what public health is. So then, now therefore, I, Patrick M. Allen, Secretary of the New Mexico Department of Health, in accordance with authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Mexico, and directed by the governor pursuant to the full scope of emergency powers. Yes, again, if it's an emergency, we can do whatever the fuck we want. under the All Hazard Emergency Act, do hereby declare that gun violence and drugs use constitute conditions of public health importance as defined by New Mexico's something or other section, this and that, and hereby an order and direct as follows. The Secretary of Health of New Mexico is issuing this order under the governor's declaration of an emergency. Here's what he continues. 1, no person other than a law enforcement officer or licensed security officer shall possess a firearm as defined in NMSA, blah, 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 either openly or concealed within cities or counties averaging 1,000 or more violent crimes per 100,000 residents per year. That would be Albuquerque is the only one that applies here. Since 2020, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, and more than 90 firearm-related emergency department visits per 100,000 residents from July 2022 to June 2023, according to the New Mexico Department of Public Health. So basically, they're restricting nobody in Albuquerque can have a firearm. Possess, period. Now, what's amazing, is there anybody in Albuquerque who hunts outside of Albuquerque? So let's say I'm a hunter and I live in Albuquerque. Can I throw the rifle in the truck and go hunting up in the hills somewhere? Or if I get caught with that firearm in my trunk, am I going to be violating this emergency executive order? Holy shit. Yes, if you give tyrants unlimited powers in an emergency, you'll find that eventually begin to find you're always in a state of emergency. Spot on. That's what it is. This is going to start. Mark my words. Now that the governor and Secretary of Health of New Mexico has done this, there's going to be people following the lead in many other states. Of course, they're dipshits already if you talk about the governor of Michigan and California and New York. But there's going to be a lot. There's no way that this is going to pass constitutional scrutiny. Now, so here it is. New Mexico governor, this is a PJ Media article about it too. New Mexico governor who banned firearm in Albuquerque says her oath is not absolute. Oh, really? Really? Republicans in New Mexico are calling for her impeachment. Elon Musk called her executive order banning firearms from being carried in public for 30 days next level illegal. But New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is defending her order, claiming it was necessary to protect public health. That's not public health, bitch! And besides, her oath to uphold the Constitution was not absolute. Oh, really? Really now? Is that how it works? You take an oath of office, but it's not absolute. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. Really? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Are you sure? Oh. Asked whether she violated her oath to uphold the Constitution. It's true, there are exceptions to most of our constitutional rights. We can't yell fire in a crowded theater, for example. That's wrong. That's false. Sorry. That's so false. That stupid mantra is false as fuck as false can be. There's also the fighting words doctrine that makes incitement to violence illegal. But anyone who claims there are exceptions to their oath needs to be impeached. The words oath and absolute are pretty much go together. And this cretin of a governor is looking to separate them because she's gotten herself into a heap of trouble. Well, good. Get her the fuck out of there. Now, there is some hope in this story, though. And that is that some of the New Mexicans are saying, some of the New Mexicans are saying, kiss my ass. New Mexicans do the most American thing ever to defy the Second Amendment ban. New Mexico governor sent a peaceful but powerful message Sunday to New Mexican gun owners sent a peaceful but powerful message on Sunday to Democratic Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham by openly carrying their firearms after Grisham placed a 30-day ban on their Second Amendment rights. Grisham issued an emergency order banning all firearms from being carried in Albuquerque for 30 days, arguing that they're yes, I know it's really Albuquerque, just for those of you who may have just got here thinking I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I know it's Albuquerque, but it's more funny to say Albuquerque. I got that from one of my fraternity brothers. Anyway, New Mexico gun owners rallied in Albuquerque today in open defiance of the New Mexican governor's order banning open and concealed carry of firearms because of an emergency. So here's a video of that.
Riddled, and all we want to do is protect our families, our friends.
So they openly carried firearms.
Combat tour with the Marine Corps and fought on the front lines. I've done 11 trips as an independent contractor.
So as you can see, many of them are strapped, and good for them.
Protect my community.
I see a couple of brothers in there too. Good. I like to see the brothers in there join the fight.
And we will not comply.
All right, so there you go. Good. That's the most American thing you can do about some bullshit like that. All right, we'll pop that there. We'll stop that. All right, enough about that. Next, what's next? I think I might. I'm not sure if I talked about this. We'll just pop this one up. Apparently, appeals court upholds injunction blocking the CDC, FBI, and White House from censorship. Oh yeah. A federal appeals court on Friday upheld a modified version of an injunction in the landmark Missouri versus Biden case, blocking the White House and federal agencies from pressuring social media companies to censor American citizens. However, two major arms of the federal government, the sprawling State Department and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, were exempted from the modified injunction, which was upheld by the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Fifth Circuit. A win for opponents of online censorship. The entire FBI. This is, love it when they start tying their hands. The entire FBI remains blocked from demanding censorship from social media companies under the new injunction, as is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So that's good. And the White House press secretary and a host of Biden officials who applied pressure to the tech platforms during the coronavirus pandemic. Wait till you hear that this also, this opens the door for a couple things. We'll get to it. Under the injunction, the named agencies and individuals shall take no actions, formal, informal, directly or indirectly, to coerce or significantly encourage social media companies to remove, delete, suppress, or to reduce, including through altering their algorithms, posted social media content containing protected free speech. That includes, but is not limited to, compelling the platforms to act, such as by intimidating that some form of punishment will follow a failure to comply with any request, or supervising, directing, or otherwise meaningfully controlling the social media company's decision-making process. So, they can't fuck with the social media companies anymore. Thank goodness. Now, they still, like I said, they give the exemptions to two departments. I'm not happy about that either. But in fact, the entire insanity of CISA being exempt from the new terms of the censorship injunction under the Missouri versus Biden ruling is fully explained in this video. Well, let's see. How much long is this video? Let's see. How long is this video? I'll put it up in the links, though. Oh, shoot. What I need to do, though. Let me copy and paste that first. Oh, no, I didn't open a new article. Let's see what this says. Let's see what this video says. How long is it? Oh, God, it's 36 minutes long. We're not going to, but I'll put the video in the links. And you can watch that yourself. But, why they did that, I don't know. As previously reported, CISA worked closely with the infamous Election Integrity Project. Oh, shit. Yeah, we need them to shut the fuck up, too. Anyway, you can read the rest of that yourself. But that's good news that they did that. Moving on, in legal insurrection, Eric. Oh, now, we're kind of getting into the section of the news today that really what the title's all about. Are they figuring it out? Are they starting to figure out that their policies suck? Are they? That's what I want to know. Are they figuring out that their policies suck? Okay. So let's start with Eric Adams. We talked about him on Friday. Okay. So Eric Adams warns New Yorkers that cuts are coming to city services due to the illegal immigration crisis. There's that word crisis again. I get nervous when the politicians use the word crisis, but we found this a little ironic on Friday that he's bitching about, 10,000 immigrants or whatever that New York is hosting now, thanks to Joe Biden and the administration and its handlers. It's the handlers' open borders policy. Biden just is riding along. So he released a video this weekend, which he speaks directly to New Yorkers about the reality that they're facing due to the illegal immigration crisis. We saw that, and that's good. And it's like, oh, are you having a eureka moment? Okay. Saying that they're going to, probably have to kill some services. So that's one example of they're starting to realize the failures of their own ideas. Okay. So we'll move on to another example. Is this it? Oh, and anyway, this is, but there's an interesting note about that. And the Federalist points this out fairly well. It's funny though, when Eric Adams was talking about that, and he's using the language that, opposing uncontrolled mass migration. Well, apparently the New York Times has decided that sort of rhetoric is no longer hateful. Okay. So in the Federalist, there's a good article here. A favorite pastime of mine is watching how quickly the national media discover nuance and complexity in a tragedy once it's a Democrat who's at the root of it. Political violence committed by Republican, right-wing, pro-gun, white supremacists inspired by Fox News and Donald Trump hateful rhetoric. Political violence committed by a Democrat, well, there's plenty of blame to go around, and both sides need to do their part in bringing down the temperature a little. Deadly virus spread under a Republican administration, mismanagement, ineptitude, willful ignorance, denying science. Deadly virus spreading under a Democratic administration? Well, it's the nature of a virus to spread, and population density and age are factors. Plus, it's up to the individual to do his part. Well, now every Democratic-run city are well into a second year of managing the influx of illegal border crossers by the tens of thousands. Immigration isn't so black and white either. When New York Mayor Adams featured his viral video this week wherein he said some very interesting things about the unabated stream of migrants bust from Texas into the city, where residents get the privilege of bathing, clothing, feeding, and housing them all at the taxpayers' expense. That's money that doesn't get to be spent on things like homeless shelters, police, and more public services that would otherwise go to actual American legal residents. So now I want to skip down here because so for example, well, here's just the words that he said that we're going to compare and contrast. We have a $12 million deficit that we're going to have to cut, Adams said. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. But what he said thereafter was even more urgent. They're destroying New York City? Immigrants are destroying New York City? Asylum seekers are destroying New York City? He said, it's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. The city we knew, we're about to lose. Now, I said last week when we watched this video, I said, oh my God, this right-wing Republican nut job's probably part of the KKK is just talking shit about immigrants, right? I don't know if that was my exact words or not, but I was like, wow, funny how Republican he sounds when it's the problems on his doorstep. So I remember certain people who spoke of the mass migration problem in similar terms. Trump in October 2018 said, this is an invasion of our country. During that time, a month ahead of the midterm election, Trump was warning about the so-called caravan of several thousand migrants marching from Central America to the U.S., where they could demand entry and all perks that come from scamming our laughable asylum policy. So here's the headline for the New York Times ran the same day as Trump's remark. Quote, here, I better get this ready. How Trump fed conspiracy. Wait, whoops, I jumped the gun. Holy shit. how Trump-fed conspiracy theories about migrant caravan intersect with deadly hatred. The corresponding article used words like alarmist, hatred, paranoia, conspiratorial to describe Trump's posture. Now, let's contrast the article in the Times on what Adams said in the video. Merely noted that the mayor, quote, the mayor has struggled to provide housing and services to migrants, and said that his outcry was an escalation of rhetoric. To the extent there was anything remarkable about Adams' comments at all, the Times allowed that they were his most ominous yet. Oh, they were his most ominous. And just like that, the border crossing isn't about hatred and paranoia. It's about a mayor's struggle. Fuck you, New York Times. All right, next on this particular theme today of they're starting to get it, as in, what's the name of this show? I can't remember. It's, they're figuring it out. They're starting to figure it out. Oh, wait, what the hell is this? I must have skipped a whole bunch of stuff here. Okay, I'm going to skip these, but I'll show you what they are so you can read them later. This is more about on Biden's speech in Vietnam. Oh, that it's even more frightening than a nuclear war. Biden clutches pearls over the global temperatures rising 1.5 degrees. How much of this speech do they have in here?
There's more.
Let me do this real quick. This is Biden in Vietnam. One of the rambling things he says. So here we go. Let me put this in full screen so you can see it better. Here's Biden rambling.
There's more carbon absorbed from the atmosphere on a daily basis, and I'll look to my friend John Kerry, who's forgotten more about this than most people know. Correct me if I get this wrong, John, but I'm quite sure I'm right. And that is that there's more carbon absorbed from the air into the Amazon region, into the ground, than admitted in the entire United States on the same basis. Now imagine if people go in and do what we did 250 years ago and cut down the forest and start farming.
Okay, first of all, probably not. That's probably not true. Reforestation across the globe has more than made up for the amount of carbon that has been put in the atmosphere. In fact, it's a pretty good ratio right now, and they're just talking out of their asses. But anyway,
in that area, no longer have that great carbon sink. So
in other words, plants absorb carbon. I wonder if plants absorb carbon. If plants absorb carbon, what would be a really good solution to the thing that you think's a problem with carbon? Should we just plant more plants? Have everyone plant some trees. Have everyone in America plant a tree in their yard somewhere. Plant some fucking trees. If that's really your worry, y'all are stupid. Anyway.
It would be a gigantic problem. So we should be going to areas, whether it's in the Congo or other places, as the G7 nations and the wealthy G20 nations, and providing the kind of infrastructure they need to be able to benefit. And guess what?
What are you talking
in addition
about?
to helping the environment overall.
What infrastructure? So you're going to build infrastructure, you got to emit more carbon. What are you talking about? What?
The existential threat humanity faces, even more frightening than a nuclear war.
No, it's not. Nuclear war happens now. In 12 hours, we could have the entire planet blown up. Okay? No, it's not as frightening as a nuclear war. We're talking about 150 years from now, according to your stupid models and estimates. You realize people can migrate and adjust for temperatures, right? You realize that the breadbaskets of the world, where it's getting warmer, there's more food production when it's warmer, right? What the fuck are you talking about, Joe? Stan Ulch, how you doing? The more carbon in the air, the more lush the plants are. The planet creates more carbon daily than humans do yearly through volcanic actions, methane leaks after earthquakes. Yes, hello, Stan Ulch, by the way. Welcome to the show. If you've been here before, I hope you have. But if you haven't, that's even better, because that means someone new's put eyes on my show. So welcome.
global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years.
Yeah, 10, 20. Whoa. What did he just say? Whoa. What?
Global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years.
Okay. I was saying, because that's been over 40 years. It's taken it to get 1.5 degrees or something like shit like that.
And it'd be real trouble.
No, it won't.
There's no way back.
No, it won't.
From that.
Bullshit, Joe. Come on now. Anyway, let's correct me if I'm wrong. We already got that. Here's the other. Let's see. Oh, here's this, what he got, this mumbling thing about John Wayne and the Indian and lying dog-faced pony soldier.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Here it is.
So my brother.
Yes, it's only in your left ear.
His famous lines from movies.
Wait, I'm gonna go back. My brother, something.
So my brother loves having his famous lines from movies that he always quotes.
Right here.
You know, and one of them is there's a movie about John Wayne. He's an Indian scout, and they're trying to get I think it was Apache, one of the great tribes of America, back on the reservation, and he's standing with the Union, so we're all armed, and they're on their horses.
This is now remind you. Let me remind you. Let me remind you the setting of him telling this story. Okay, this is not him at a fundraiser event, you know, in the Hamptons, or in Baltimore or Los Angeles. This is not Joe. Joe is in fucking Vietnam talking about this John Wayne movie, and he's an Indian scout, and yada yada. What?
And there's 3 or 4 Indians in headdresses, and the Union soldiers basically saying, Indians, come with me, we'll take care of the movie, everything will be good. And the Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union soldier and says, he's a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Well, there's a lot of lying dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming.
Oh my God.
But not anymore. All of a sudden, I realized it's a problem. And there's nothing like seeing the light.
I think you're beginning to see the light, Joe. But that's a different light we're talking about. I truly believe that you're starting to see the light. You just maybe retire and walk slowly towards that light, okay? So anyway, everyone's noticed Biden holds a bizarre, rambling press conference in Vietnam. There's more quotes in here, and Biden arrives in Vietnam for a second leg of his trip and immediately gets confused by the stage. So let's see what this is. Oh, okay. Okay, I don't understand that clip. That's just, look, some of the clips they put out of Biden bumbling and stumbling only work because it's Biden. But if someone else did, they might be confused of where to go and whatnot. I can understand that. But Biden, it happens to all the time. So maybe, just maybe, that's a good one. All right. And then one more thing in this. And then also rambling Biden gets cut off mid-sentence as staffers scrambled to end the press conference. Now, this is the part where they were talking about, he had a list again. He had a list of 5 people he's supposed to call on, and he kept telling them, well, I have this list that I'm supposed to call on, and I'm sorry, if I would get in trouble if I don't do this and that. Again, Joe, you're the president of the United States. You, sir, are supposed to be in charge, and yet you are not in charge. Now, look, is this the whole? Yeah, the press conference is 25 minutes long, so I'm just going to give you the highlights, a.k.a. the Daily Caller. President Biden's staffers rushed to cut off the president during a Sunday press conference as he began to go off on a rambling rambling answer to a reporter's question. Biden was speaking in Vietnam when a reporter asked Biden whether he's worried about the U.S.-China relationship is being destabilized by a lack of formal discussion between Biden and President Xi Jinping. I bet they have a lot of informal discussions, though. Anyway, follow-up question citing the G20 declaration, which did not name Russia by name as an aggressor, was asked if the issue of the invasion was becoming a wedge among nations or if the United States' commitment to Ukraine would change. That is interesting because the United States is all in on helping out Ukraine, but they made no statement of aggression by Russia in the G20 summit. So, Biden said it was not a wedge issue on the with the global South, but rather with Russia. I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed, Biden said randomly while trying to answer the first half of the question about China. Reporter then asked a question which was not audible off screen. Let's see. We talked about it at the conference overall. We talked about stability. We talked about making that third world, the southern hemisphere. We had access to change, had access to. It wasn't confrontational at all. Thank you, everybody. This ends. Oh, and then someone butted. Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. They have a clip of that. That's what I wanted to see the clip of. Anyway, they cut him off. One reporter could be heard asking about Biden's commitment to protecting human rights, with Biden responding in part, he's raised concerns about human rights with every person I've met with. Have you now? Another reporter could be heard shouting questions about his son, Hunter Biden, who remains under investigation. So anyway, they cut it off because his mind was wandering away from the task at hand, which often happens. All right. Now, this is interesting. Gavin Newsom backs Kamala Harris, leading the Democrats if something happens to Biden. Now, all of us thought, and most of us think, that Gavin Newsom just waiting to swoop in. Did somebody have a talk with Gavin Newsom? Did the committee, the committee of handlers have a chat with Gavin Newsom, tell him we're going to destroy you if you try to jump in this race for president because Kamala's our girl? I'm curious. I haven't read this article. Let's go. California Governor Gavin Newsom suggested in an interview that aired over the weekend that if for some reason President Joe Biden does not run for re-election in 2024, that Vice President Kamala Harris will be the person who represents the Democratic Party at the top of the ticket. Ah! Oh, shit. Oh, are they really going to do this? Oh, my God. Are they really going to do this? Newsom made the remark in the Sunday interview with Chuck Todd on NBC News Meet the Press. By the way, Chuck Todd is stepping down from Meet the Press. I'm just devastated. Anyway, well, I think the vice president naturally the one lined up. Newsom responded, and the filing deadlines are quickly coming to pass, and I think we need to move past this notion that he's not going to. Okay, here's the problem. I think Gavin Newsom is a savvy enough politician to know that Democrats in general probably don't have a very good chance at the presidency this time around. I don't care who it is. Joe Biden's fucked it up that bad for Democrats. Also, they promised him VP, I guess. They probably did. Yes, Sound Noble Nation, go grab a towel, clean that up, and grin and bear it. Yeah, it does not mean he's not running too. Of course it does. He's being the smarmy, prick of a politician that he is. But that's just interesting news that he would say that out loud. I think he may be seeing the writing on the wall for Democrats this go round. Moving on. And thank God though, if Gavin Newsom is not running, well, at least Nancy Pelosi is. The Crypt Keeper is going to run again in the next election. She pledges re-election to run next year. She'll be 84. Nancy Pelosi, twice the United States House of Representatives Speaker, the former Speaker and former House Minority Leader, will run to be re-elected to Congress in 2024, despite the fact that she'll be 84 years old. Now, she has her little glitches here and there, not like Mitch McConnell or Joe Biden, but she occasionally has, or Dianne Feinstein. But in a time when people are talking about these politicians are just too old to be in office. Nah, they're too old, they're too damn, they can't speak, and they're falling, they got in a wheelchair, and they can't talk, and they can't remember where they're going, and they're falling off stages. Nancy Pelosi at 84 is going to continue to run for her office for next year. She was first elected to the House of Representatives when Ronald Reagan was president in 1987, announced her intention to run in front of a number of her constituents in San Francisco on Friday, and went on to explain, our country needs America to show the world that our flag is still there with liberty and justice for all. That's why I'm running for the re-election and respectfully ask for your vote. Now more than ever, our city needs us to advance San Francisco values and further our recovery, she added. Holy shit. When is San Francisco going to recover? You know, San Francisco has the worst, is already in a real estate slump. People on average in San Francisco who sell their properties are losing $100,000. It's crazy. Robert Gruber, what's up? So anyway, you know what? I'm glad Nancy's running. She's good entertainment. There she is, rubbing her fists together. She's a weirdo. Moving on. Now that's the shot. Here's the chaser. Americans overwhelmingly support age limits for effective elected officials, according to a poll. I don't think it's your age. I think it's your competence. And if the Democrats are dumb enough to keep running incompetent people, more power to them. If the Republicans are dumb enough to run incompetent people, more power to them. You know, they're just digging their own damn graves. McConnell is having his glitches. He probably shouldn't run again. Dianne Feinstein, I don't think she'll ever run again, but because she didn't know where she is half the time. Joe Biden obviously have his problems, and even Nancy has a little glitches there and there because she can't remember what the fuck she's saying. But I don't support this. If I in my district of Congress think my candidate is good enough to run for whatever, then we should be able to vote for who the fuck we want to. Okay, I don't care. If you're competent, then you're okay. If an 85-year-old very lively person who golfs every day, whatever, and can talk circles around some young whippersnapper, I don't care. If they're better, I want the better person in Congress, not some dipshit because he's 40. All right. So, but more than 3/4 of America believe that there should be a maximum age limit for elected officials, a position backed by voters of all ages and across the political spectrum, according to a poll released Sunday. Look, this is another ploy, in my eyes, too, to keep Donald Trump out of the paint, because Donald Trump's 77. Do you have any problem with Donald Trump being president because of his age? Even if you hate Donald Trump because of his policies and all this and that and his craziness, the talk, his yapping and whatnot. Do you think Donald Trump shouldn't be president because of his age? Hell no. There are competent people at that age, but not all of them. But anyway, so that's an interesting poll, Harris poll. All right, now back to the main topic of the day. Okay. I'm going to give myself another 20 minutes to get this done. Back to the main topic of the day. Okay. Are they figuring it out? I found a couple articles that really surprised me. Where'd that NPR? Oh, there it is. I'm going to start with the two that really got me because of the sources and what the sources are saying. Okay. So the first one is Slate. Now, if you're familiar with Slate, Slate's very left-leaning, kind of editorial type, publication, online publication now. And it's been around for a long time. Very left-leaning. And I saw this article in Slate. right here about book bans. Now, before I click this link so you can see it, it's an article in Slate, and it's talking about book bans. Now, the default thing that you would expect from Slate is that they're calling these people these crazy Republicans in states who are taking all these LGBTQ books out of the schools and changing history, blah, 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 blah. And it's a terrible thing that they're doing the book bans. And that's what I was expecting. I saw the word book ban in the subtitle, and I'm like, oh, they're going to be, bitching about Ron DeSantis or some shit. Nope. Closed book. I watched, quote, book bans, end quote, happen in real time. I thought they were all hysteria. Then I opened one of the most challenged books. Uh-oh. In Slate, of all places. Now, the article includes explicit images from a sex education book for teenagers. This now it's interesting. This is from someone named Ayman Ishmael. So there may be a perspective here that that is protected and thus can get away with writing something like this in Slate. But here we go. My local library is quiet during summer weekdays. It's small, even though it's meant to service the 50,000 or so residents in my area in New Jersey. It's about 2 blocks from where I live, so I frequently visit to give my kids a place to safely explore and eye all of the colorful decor and illustrated books. The librarians have made a ritual of coming out from behind their desks. Okay, I'm glad I finished that sentence. To make faces and entertain my 2-year-old son and 8-month-old daughter, who they dubbed their unofficial mascot. Well, that's racist. Ishmael, Ibrahim, is that his name? I'm an Ishmael. That could be a Jewish name too, though. Anyway, I was thinking it was like a Muslim name. But anyway, now during one visit, my son sat quietly messing with a loose pack of Legos. I asked the librarian if she could help me find a book. The request caught her off guard. Do you have It's Perfectly Normal by Robbie H. Harris? I asked. The librarian checked her computer. Her eyes widened when she recognized the cover. Do we have this book? She asked another librarian. She joined her at the terminal. What is it? A sex ed book for kids, she asked. I've seen this one before. It's like really, really detailed, she answered with a nervous smile. Like, very graphic. The senior librarian took a closer look. Is this one of the ones that's being banned, she asked. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly why I wanted to check it out, I told her. Well, there's 2 copies available at this other branch. We can order it and place it on hold for you. But I wouldn't get my hands on Newark's copy of It's Perfectly Normal. When I returned a week later to pick it up, the librarian told me the copies listed as available had vanished. They weren't checked out, but they weren't on the shelves either. Instead, one of the librarians offered to check out the book herself from her own local library and lend it to me. So somebody's getting rid of these books, whether they like it or not. I was eager to finally flip through it myself. I'd been fascinated by this book ever since it became the center of the right-wing push to censor books and the sexual themes in the name of protecting the innocence of children. I found it funny and ironic that library books could terrify parents more than the actual dangers lurking on their smart devices. There's no shortage of books being used to panic parents to protesting at their local schools or libraries. Concerns over books like The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison and All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson are easily to shrug off, given how challengers contort themselves to argue that scenes involving sex are simultaneously promoting promiscuity, and it's hard to believe that a child would accidentally stumble on certain hand-picked selections from novels that are hundreds of pages long. But It's Perfectly Normal is harder to shrug away. It's not difficult to see why this book has been an effective cudgel, both in recent years and practically since it was published. Its images are particularly blunt and graphic. The articles and social media posts about parents' concerns over those cartoons have often blurred them out, serves to prove their point. Earlier this year, a pastor in Asheville, North Carolina, made headlines after his mic was cut off during a school board meeting. If you don't want to hear it at a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out in the school system? He shouted. That's damn right. He reportedly shouted in an interview with an eager Fox News host. That same pastor described it's perfectly normal as hardcore porn. On the cover, it says intended for ages 10 and up. The point noted over and over again by rage baiters wanting to frame the book as nefarious, somehow grooming children. Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor and presidential candidate, cited it as a justification for his controversial Parental Rights and Education Act. I felt sure that as a 34-year-old father of two, there would be nothing in there that would offend my sensibilities. I heard nothing but glowing reviews from sex ed pros about the child-friendly language in the book. But flipping through the book, pages, finally, I was a little shocked. I had an involuntary reaction to seeing nude cartoons, like I needed to make sure I was alone and hide the book. I skimmed ahead to look at the rest of the book briskly. On virtually every page I stopped to examine, I was confronted with detailed drawings of genitals. Felt like every page was a cartoon of a naked body. I turned back to the first page and told myself I'd try to read it straightforwardly. At the beginning, there was a 16-panel comic strip cartoon in which two characters, a bird and a bee, agreed to explore the book about sex together. These characters line the margins of the remainder of the book as comic relief for kids reading the book to make the subjects more approachable and less intimidating. By the time I got to part 1, What is Sex?, I felt my card come down a little bit. There were comic illustrations of two babies showing their different genitals. The text invites the reader to ask questions about sex to someone they know and trust. And remember, there are no stupid questions. Now, I'm going to, just because there's the illustrations are shown in this next section, I'm going to just put my face here instead, because YouTube fucks with me a lot. Now, the next two sections follow much of the same pattern, exploring questions and common misconceptions about how babies are made and sexual desire. Not having crushes is also perfectly normal, the book read. But on page 9, I came across the first illustration I recognized from the controversy. In the chapter Making Love, there are 3 graphic images that show adult bodies having sex. There's no visible penetration, but it's still eye-popping. I was sure I wouldn't hand this book to my kids when they are 10, and I began to wonder if my own allergy to the book burning fervor, I had been a little too dismissive of the parents at the root of this fight. So, in other words, he goes through this book and he realizes that it's I'll leave it at that. He goes through and realizes that, maybe there is something to this. Something wrong. Yes, it's not his name. So anyway, moving on. Now, in the other article that I found shocking, that they actually wrote this article, is in NPR. Now, it's it just, how we try to do our part for global climate change, right? And one of their big solutions in Democrat politics is, well, we should do everyone should have electric cars. We should get rid of all internal combustion engine cars. Well, they're not all they're cracked up to be. Electric cars have a road trip problem, even for the Secretary of Energy. When Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm set out on a 4-day electric vehicle road trip this summer, she knew charging might be a challenge, but she probably didn't expect anyone to call the cops. Granholm trip through the southeast from Charlotte, North Carolina to Memphis, Tennessee, was intended to draw attention to the billions of dollars the White House is pouring into green energy and clean cars. The administration's ambitious energy agenda, I said, if successful, could significantly cut U.S. emissions and reshape American lives in fundamental ways, including putting more people in electric vehicles. Yay, not me, motherfuckers. On town hall stops along a road trip, Granholm made a passionate, optimistic case for this transition. She often put up photos of New York City in 1900 full of horses and carriages with a single car. Then another slide, 13 years later on the same street, all these cars. Can you spot the horse? One horse was in the frame. Things are happening fast. You're at the center of it. Imagine how big clean energy industries will be In 13 years, she told one audience in South Carolina how much stronger our economy is going to grow, how many good-paying jobs we're going to create, and how we're going to lead the world. Until you have to actually use this. You're going to blow up the carbon output of the entire world just so you can have some batteries. Now, the audio industry, under immense pressure to tackle its contributions to climate change, has undertaken a remarkable switch to electric vehicles, but it's not necessarily going to be a smooth transition. I rode along with Granholm during her trip, eager to see firsthand how the White House intends to promote a potentially transformative initiative to the public and what kind of issues it would encounter on the road. Granholm is in many ways the perfect person to help pitch the United States' ambitious shift to EVs. No, she's not. As a two-term governor of Michigan, she helped rescue the auto industry during the 2008 global financial crisis, and she's a longtime EV enthusiast. Her family recently switched from the Chevy Bolt to the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That makes her uniquely well-positioned to envision the future of auto industry and to sell the dream of what the future would look like. But between stops, Granholm's entourage had, at times, had to grapple with the limitation of the present, like when her caravan of EVs, including a luxury Cadillac Lyriq, a hefty Ford F-150, and an affordable Bolt electric utility vehicle. Yeah, when they say affordable, what does that mean? What does that mean when they say it's affordable? Anyway, when they're planning a fast charge in Grovetown, a suburb of Augusta, Georgia, her advance team realized there weren't going to be enough plugs to go around. One of the station's 4 chargers was broken and others were occupied. So, an energy department staffer tried parking a non-electric vehicle by one of those working chargers to reserve a spot for the approaching Secretary of Energy. That did not go down well. A regular gas-powered car blocking the only free spot for a charger. Oh, wait a minute! They had gas-powered cars on their trip? Oh, isn't that special? That did not go well. A regular gas-powered car blocking the only free spot for a charger. In fact, a family that was boxed out on a sweltering day with a baby in the vehicle was so upset they decided to get the authorities involved. They called the police. The sheriff couldn't do anything. It's not illegal for a non-EV to claim a charging spot in Georgia. Energy Department staff scrambled to smooth over the situation, including sending other vehicles to slower chargers until both the frustrated family and the secretary had room to charge. John Ryan, the driver of the electric BMW, pulled up after everything was settled. It was his turn to wait. It's just par for the course, he shrugged. They'll get it together at some point. They would be the government, the automakers, the charging networks like Electrify America and ChargePoint, and the companies like Walmart, Shell, and 7-Eleven that are in a charging game. Whatever. They still have it. You know what? That quick charge doesn't completely charge off. It still takes forever to charge a fucking electric vehicle. And, you know, if they ever figure that out, then that'll be a good thing. But I'm sorry, they're gonna basically strip mine half of Africa and China to get enough cobalt for these batteries. So they're gonna be dusting up a lot of carbon in the process. All right, let's move on. Now there are some not so good signs in this Toronto Sun article. I don't know if it's an opinion piece in the Toronto Sun telling parents that you have no right to know your kid's gender identity. Now, this is Canada, of course. Sorry, my Canadian friends, but Canada is a trip. It's a privilege. This is it's an editorial piece in the Toronto Star. It's a privilege, not a right, to know your kid's gender identity. Now, in my world, that headline is, it's a privilege, not a right for anybody else to know your kid's gender identity. That's what I would say. It's not a right for your school to know it. It's not a right for your teachers to know it. It's not a right for the government to know it. It's the only person whose right it is to know are the minor child and the parents of a minor child. But let's see the flip-flops they do on this motherfucker. It's a hard truth that some kids will live with parents who are transphobic. Okay. And does that take, are you saying they don't have a legal right anyway? No province should forcibly outgender non-conforming kids to these parents. Sorry, it's not your kids, motherfuckers. My son Zach is transgender. He told us nonchalantly at bedtime 3 years ago. Because he's only 11, so far this transition has been strictly social. New pronouns, new clothes, new haircut, new name, with few exceptions. It's been a nothing burger as it sounds. Really? How do you know he is? How do you know he's not just acting out for attention? How do you know? Have you gone through any of the psychological stuff, or you just said, "Oh, okay, we're just going to let you go with that"? I don't know. It's none of my business, okay? But so that's your house, and that's your privilege, and that's your kid, Bug. And okay, fine. If you're willing to make your kid a permanent medical patient for the rest of their lives, okay, now granted, at least you've only done it socially so far. But you might want to do a little research before you go any farther than that. By the time he had his first appointment at the Sick Kids Gender Clinic, oh fuck. You're fucked. I don't think you realize it, but anyway, in August 2024 is when he's going to have his first appointment. He'll be 12 and a half, and we'll have been on the wait list for 18 months. Well, thank God for something about Canadian medicine. It gives you a little more time to maybe the hormones kick in and he goes, oh, what the fuck am I doing? If 4 years into his transition, he chooses gender affirming medication, it will not be an impulsive decision. I'm glad they're banning that shit in most of the states here, or a lot of the states here. As an urban liberal agnostic Canadian, the hardest part of parenting a trans child has been watching the anti-trans groundswell, particularly in the UK and the US. As of this month, 22 states have enacted laws or policies banning gender-affirming care for youth up to age 18, despite evidence this care does more good than harm. No. There is no evidence of that. The evidence is actually the opposite. But you keep lying. I've cried often for those kids and their parents, and I've cried for fear for these baseless laws which will make their way north of the border. They should. I'm sorry. You might want to check up on the latest research. Sorry, you don't know it. There's no evidence that gender-affirming care does more harm than good. There's no long-term studies. There's nothing. But the biggest study that's 30 years long from Sweden tells you just the opposite, and that's why they dumped it. With it's like 20,000 cases or something like that. A lot more cases. Now, there's 7 studies that are all very poorly done studies. There's no peer review on them, but that people cite all the time for what you just said. But that's not a long-term study. There's a 30-year study out of Sweden, and that's why they stopped doing it. Anyway, and now it begins. In the conservative provinces of New Brunswick and Saskatchewan, parental consent is now required before a student under 16 can use their preferred pronouns or name in school. In my own province of Ontario, Education Minister Stephen Lecce has opened the door to similar policies here, saying parents must be fully involved and fully aware of what's happening in the lives of their children so that they can support their kids. And again, they're not the province's kids. So good. On the surface, I couldn't agree more. Oh, on the surface. Well, let's dig deeper. This has been my experience, after all, because Zach trusted us enough to share his gender identity with us. My husband and I have been fully involved and fully aware and fully supportive. Well, good for you. I'm just saying, hold off on the medical shit, though. we were the ones, not Zach, to have the conversation with the school about changing his pronouns and his name. Not because it was our right to do so. Yes, it is your right to do so. You are the parents responsible for a minor child. It is absolutely your fucking right to do so. And if that's your choice, great, I guess. Not a choice I would make, but I would have other choices, and I have the right to make them for my minor child. Sorry, guys, I got a little upset there. Not because it was our right to do so, as the education minister suggests, but because we earned the privilege of Zach's true self. Shut the fuck up. But not all kids have the wait a minute. So she calling... Oh, so Zach's a girl pretending to be a boy. Okay, got it. I had to figure that one out now. Oh my God. Especially with girls, you really might want to just check yourself before you get to the medical shit. Okay? Just saying. But not all kids have the luxury of an LGBTQ plus tolerant home. According to the Trevor Project, the Trevor Project's bullshit. The Trevor Project's 2022 national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health, fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth find their home to be gender affirming. Good. Okay? Because right now, the rise in the gender non-conforming kid has risen so much, not due to actual gender and whatever, but just because it's very popular right now, and it gives you powers that a lot of things don't do when you're a kid. You get the praise from teachers, you get praise from certain sections of society. You got people online telling you how wonderful you are, and it's the greatest thing since sliced fucking pickles. And here in Canada, hate crimes targeting people for their sexual orientation rose by 60% in Statistics Canada's most recent hate crimes report. From 60% of what though? Rose by 60%. What? So were there 2 and now there were, or were there 3 and now there were 4? That'd be 60%. That'd be 25, 33. You know what I'm saying? That means nothing. 60. Don't tell me 60%. It's a hard truth that some kids, and also has your definition of hate crime changed? Has it expanded anyway? Because the hate crime now, hate crime used to be someone physically violated you with some bodily harm. Okay, that was a hate crime when I would think, there's really no such thing as a hate crime, but whatever. If your crime's only motivated because you hate someone because of some characteristic they have, I consider that it has to be bodily harm, not someone said some mean words, because that definition has expanded exponentially. It's a hard truth that some kids live with parents who are homophobic and transphobic. And do they have a right to be that? Let's say they actually truly are homophobic and transphobic. Do parents have a right to be that way? That's the tough one. That's the one that they want to regulate, and they have no right to regulate that. Sorry, when your kid turns 18, they can have their free will or whatever, at least in our country, and fine, okay? Now, I don't think parents should be harming their kids, and if you have a gay kid, love your kid. No matter what your personal feelings are, find a way to make that kid's life easier, no matter what, okay? You have to do that. You have to love your kids no matter what, okay? Keep your, and try to keep that shit to yourself. Hello, Rick Ashbringer. But in the worst cases, abusively so. And abusive parents can fuck right off. I don't care, what your feelings are about your kids and what they want to be or whatever, but don't abuse your children ever. I don't care. You deserve foot-ass disease, as in my giant foot in your ass. If you're truly the sort of parent to support your kid's gender identity, you don't need a policy to codify your right to do so. And if you are truly the sort of parent who chooses not to support your kid's gender identity, you also do not need a policy to codify your right to do so. Okay? It goes both ways. Sorry, you are not their parents. The parents are their parents. So anyway, whatever. The rest of the article is what you'd expect it to be. All right, I'm going to finish up quick on the last ones. Here's another one. Why women need to feel fear. Our instincts aren't bigoted, they're essential. So this is an article, just why women should be concerned about having males in their locker rooms, in their sports games, in their spaces. There is this kind of mantra, that, women don't have rights. And you go, well, what are the rights that women don't have, that men have? Because there are a lot of rights women have that men don't have. And I'm trying to figure out, are there actual rights that men have that women don't? And I can never really think of any. But I agree that because female bodies, humans, whatever, on average are not as strong as the average male bodies, I think that because female bodies are, males often have shitty tendencies, because males have that testosterone and stuff going through their brains and stuff, and tend to do violent things and have tendencies that males have that aren't the same in women, that women need to be protected physically and have spaces of their own. And we have separate spaces for lots of different reasons. Okay? And those spaces should be different spaces. Now, that's my opinion. That makes me sound like a feminist, doesn't it? But I'm not. But that's not just a feminist thought. That's common sense thought for most people. So this is by our friend Bridget Fettis. I don't know if you know her, but she's funny. She's a comedian. Feminists, when I was growing up, used to encourage girls to get loud and rail against the social pressure to be compliant and be nice. We were taught to push back against the idea that women needed to be appealing to men because their comfort mattered more than ours. Now we live in a radically different world, a world in which a generation of young women is being taught to disregard the fear that they might feel in a threatening situation. They are told not to trust their intuition, and they are called bigots and sent death threats if they suggest that they feel uncomfortable in their bathrooms and changing rooms, or even in shelters for survivors of sexual abuse. As a sexual assault survivor myself, I fought back tears while watching Paula Scanlon testify before the House Judiciary Committee about her experience of being on the University of Pennsylvania women's swimming team with the transgender athlete Leah Thomas. I know of women with sexual trauma who are adversely impacted by having biological males in their locker room without their consent. I know this because I'm one of those women. I felt rage too. How outrageous that Scanlon should have to defend her desire to be free of biological males in a female changing room. How dare her university send her to psychotherapy in an attempt to re-educate her to become comfortable with the idea of addressing in front of a male. I find it hard to believe that 5 years ago, feminist rallying cry was, quote, believe all women. Hello, Nif Jules. I see you have a link in my Rumble chat. I'm not sure. Right. Andrew Tate versus Alex Jones. I'll have to check that out. Thank you. I'll check that out when I get off the show here. In fact, I'll put the link in. In fact, I'll even put the link in our, videos restricted, private. No longer works. Sorry, bud. All right. Anyway, back to this article. It's getting good here. Clearly Scanlon does too. Okay, we already did that. Clearly Scanlon remembers the Believe All Women rallying cry too. Let us not forget the viral Me Too movement that empowered female victims to speak up, she said. It trained a spotlight on the widespread widespread prevalence of sexual assault and abuse, including in scholarly and educational institutions. Many policies pushed today completely ignore my experience and women like me. In the space of 5 years, we've gone from believe all women to believe all women, especially if they're men. That's funny. How have we regressed so rapidly everywhere, from Oprah downwards? Preach to my generation of women. Listen to your gut, listen to your instincts, listen to the voice whispering, get out. Back in 1997, she interviewed Gavin DeBecker, whose book, The Gift of Fear, A Guide to Understanding How Your Instincts About Other People Can Keep You Safe, became a bestseller. During her show, he summed it up like this. Someone who doesn't hear no is trying to control you. That's not bad advice. Oprah looked out at the audience. Do you hear that? Gavin, you need to say it again. Now, such was the impact of the book that in 2008, Oprah did an hour-long show to communicate its 10th anniversary. During it, DeBecker repeated the line from his book, distilled from Margaret Atwood's lecture, quote, at core, men are afraid women will laugh at them, while at core, women are afraid men will kill them. Ew, that's a little harsh. I understood this. I was taught to get out of any threatening situation as soon as possible. If you're alone in a room and a man enters and you don't feel safe, leave. You're walking at night and feel the instinct just to escape, just run. It doesn't matter if you're wrong because what if you're right? I was told to ignore the little voice at my peril. My mother raised me and my sisters to scream and run like hell if a stranger asked us to get into their car, because if you end up in a trunk, you're dead. As DeBecker says, can you imagine an animal in the wilderness overtaking with fear, saying, it's probably nothing. But we do that every day. In his 1997 Oprah appearance, he argues that the real information we should be giving women and children is honor your own fear and teach them that it's important, that their own internal voice is important. Now, where is Oprah now? The message today young women are getting is that if their inner voice says it feels wrong when someone with a penis undresses in front of them, or is present when they undress in a space designated for women, there is something wrong with them. Scanlon said it in her testimony. We, the women, were the problem, not the victims. We were expected to conform, to move over, to shut up. Our feelings didn't matter. The university was gaslighting and fear-mongering women to validate the feelings and identity of a male. It appears that institutions, politicians, and progressives are happy to sacrifice women at the altar of inclusivity. They demand we keep quiet when we feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Ironically, instead of teaching us to keep ourselves safe and fear violation, the women's movement teaches us to fear being labeled as bigots. Paula Scanlon and collegiate swimmer Riley Gaines have been called transphobe for objecting to someone striding around with his penis on show in the locker room designated for women. We're setting a dangerous precedent. Think about the young women watching the way that Scanlon and Gaines are being treated. They will surely conclude they must suffer and accommodate the small handful of males that want to make everything about them. They are now being given access to female prisons, domestic abuse shelters, rape centers, locker rooms, spas, and public toilets, as well as changing rooms. It would be absurd to assume that all trans-identified male-bodied people are looking for ways to abuse girls or women. It is equally absurd and naive to think that male predators won't exploit this system. But what I find particularly alarming is that it teaches women in general not to trust themselves. It tells us to ignore the discomfort triggered at a subconscious level. It encourages us to ignore our instincts. When a woman senses dangers, the last thing she needs is for her judgment to be clouded by another fear, the fear of social death if she acts to protect herself. Bridget's spot on here. Go, girl. Is there much left? This is it. And all of us who witness the abuse that women who speak up are being subjected to are expected to remain silent. All of us whose little voices are telling us that there's something wrong with prioritizing men's feelings over women's safety are told we are wrong. But my gift of fear is telling me to resist being intimidated into submission, to teach young women and my own daughter to honor that voice, that institution, to stand behind women like Paula Scanlon who are resisting and say no. Good for you, Bridget. Great article. I'm going to have to send her to DM just to tell her how much I like that article. All right, we're going to close it out really quickly because these are just some quick hit news items. On that note, apparently, the sport fencing, right? Fencing, the guys with little swords that they try to tap each other with and score points. The fencing thing. On this line of thought, the will USA Fencing and the USOPC be sending a male fencer to represent U.S. women in the next Olympics? Well, why would you ask that question? Why would you ask? Are you out of here, Bobbity? Are you leaving? Oh, thank you, Bobbity. Thanks for dropping by. I appreciate it. So apparently 4 male medalists in women's USA fencing. Now you would think like a sport like fencing, does the length of your arm, would that have any advantage if you were really tall and had long arms in fencing and you were good at it? I would think so. 4 male medalists in U.S. women's fencing. Male fencer Eden Philpott won a women's national title this summer and became the only athlete to finish top 8 in 2 different weapons category, a virtually unheard of feat in the sport. Fantastic. Male fencer Elizabeth Kokab also won a women's national title this July in the seniors vet 70 EP championship. The 6-foot-tall world champion athlete has made the Women's USA Vet World Championship team since 2011. So this male, has been fencing as a woman since. Look at that. I mean, it's just the towers over the opponent. That's crazy. In a post-win interview, Kokab, excited for the world champs in Daytona, Florida this October. He credits his success in women's fencing to consistent training. There are no shortcuts. Oh, well, fantastic. Male fencer Don Wilson won his first women's national medal in 2008. So this has been going on for a long fucking time. Wilson is a 2-time U.S. Sabre champion and 2-time veteran world team member. I don't think they've been, up until now, they've been allowed to compete in the Olympics. Wilson, a military veteran, was instrumental in constructing the USA fencing policy, ensuring male fencers access to women awards and opportunity. Wilson's knowledge has been leveraged when USA Fencing shaped its own policy on the matter. So there's articles on all of these, by the way. I'm not going to read them. Let's see. Male fencer Beth DeBurton is featured on several prominent women's fencing podiums. Some podiums are shared with another male competitor, Dawn Wilson. U.S. Fencing Board of Directors at-large director coach Damian Layfeld recognizes women are disadvantaged against men and doesn't care, tells mothers if their daughters care about fencing boys because their girls aren't good at fencing. That's his answer when people complain. USA Fencing at-large director Layfeld tried to defend his discriminatory stance against girls in the sport, claiming in fencing there's no data to support whether male fencers are advantaged in the sport. However, there is something on that. There is a Fencing Pacific study conducted that validates what we all know. There is an unfair advantage, retains physiological advantage for trans women and in female fencing competition. So there's an abstract on that. Elite fencing referee Alexandra Gioiella admits they do not track transgender athletes, threaten violence against fencers who feel forced to make anonymous accounts to voice complaints. Oh, so the other fencers are fearing complaining, kind of like the swimmers did. Female USA fencing whistleblower did speak out, though, says, I'm seeing that people are afraid to say anything about it because there's an exclusive executive body that has been extremely vocal about wanting to allow transgender women in the women's division. And then women fencing are being silenced and bullied into standing down when their right to respect fair treatment and fair competition are skewered. So I'll leave the thread open on that. There's articles that accompany almost every single one of those, but well, That's what you get. That's what you get. Arm's length is massive advantage. Yes, you would think. Annalyn, I beat most taller men in fencing. Speed is more important. Yeah, I'm sure speed and reaction time, which we know that males physiologically, scientifically have faster speed and reaction times too. So anyway, all right. Back to our theme a little bit here, though. Apparently, there's a county in California that want their Soros-backed DA gone. Pamela Price, the district attorney of Alameda County, California, is currently facing a campaign to recall her from office as residents grow increasingly frustrated with her policies that they say have led to a surge in crime. In California, I don't believe it. A surge in crime in California? That can't be. Save Alameda for Everyone, SAFE, campaign filed an intent to recall Price in July after multiple high-level cases of plea deals for violent offenders. Price has repeatedly pushed lenient non-carceral sentencing policies, often in pursuit of racial justice, and has downgraded charges for violent crimes in the county. Actions which citizens and business owners told the Daily Caller have emboldened criminals. Oh, that can't be! I don't believe it! I don't believe it at all. That has nothing to do with why crime's rising. The criminals don't know if what they're doing in the city hall and the courts and letting people in and out, they don't know. They don't pay attention to that shit. And so they don't have any idea that they might be able to get away with a little more than they used to. No way. I don't believe it. Anyway, the whole article talks about that, and I'm not going to say any more. Good. They're figuring it out. They're starting to figure it out where in these high crime areas, they're trying to recall some of these district attorneys and public officials who are stupid. We talked about the councilwoman or whatever in St. Paul, Minnesota, that was she a councilwoman who again is looking for more after she got mugged. After she got mugged, she wants to, tighten up the police a little bit. After she got mugged, she wants more funding for crime prevention with police and shit. After she got mugged, I made that joke one time and someone got upset with me. A Republican is often just a Democrat who's been mugged. You know what I mean? So there you go. I'm still peeling from Hawaii. Okay, we'll move on. I got a couple left. Nike permanently closes iconic Portland store amid theft and safety issues. I bet it's due to theft more than the safety issues. Nike has officially closed an iconic Portland store due to the city's rampant crime and retail theft. This after the athletic shoe giant hoped to reopen its location at Northwest Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard after making the decision to temporarily close the store earlier this year. So they're permanently closing a store because people keep stealing the shoes and not paying for them. In Miami, the school board has rejected a proposal for a woke LGBTQ history month. So they wanted to have an LGBTQ history month in Miami, and the school board has rejected it. Miami-Dade County School Board members voted 5-3 to reject a proposal to recognize October as LGBT. Don't they already have Pride Month and that month? They got Pride Day and they got International Trans Awareness Day and they got Trans Left-Handed, Aardvark Day, and they got this day and that day for everything. They don't need another month of Trans History Month. What the fuck? You got everything is gay, this, trans, that, and I don't care about the gay stuff. I don't care about any of it. But you keep adding on days of all these stupid celebrations. You know what I'm talking about. You don't need them. And black people get the shortest month. Come on, man. Where's that?
Come on, man.
Anyway, Robert Alfonso, a Miami-Dade school board member who voted against the recognition, said it's imposing ideologies and a sexual discussion that should not be happening inside of our schools. Oh my God, he said that in Miami? In Miami, someone said that? I didn't think you'd get away with that in Miami. According to Politico, the idea was introduced to herald October as a reminder to all cultures within our wider community of the important roles that LGBTQ people have taken in shaping the social, historical, legal, and political worlds we live in today. What? I don't get it. Oh, that's in Miami. You can read the rest yourself, but good for them. In the New York Post. Now, this is a good one too. A professor has been fired for faking data to prove lynching whites want longer sentences for blacks. 6 of his studies have been retracted because he faked the data. Florida State University criminology professor Eric Stewart was a guru of the claim of that systemic racism infests America's police and American society. Now he's out of a job on account of extreme negligence, quote unquote, in his research. Extreme negligence? You mean he made some shit up? The academic was fired after almost 20 years of his data, including figures used in an explosive study which claimed the legacy of lynchings made whites perceive blacks as criminals and that the problem was worse among conservatives, were found to be in question. College authorities said he was being fired for, quote, incompetence, end quote, and false, quote unquote, false results. Among other studies, he has had to retract were claims that whites wanted longer sentences for blacks and Latinos. To date, 6 of Stewart's articles published in major academic journals like Criminology and Law and Society Review between 2003 and 2019 have been fully retracted after allegations the professor's data was fake or so badly flawed it should not have been published. Oh my gosh, that peer review really didn't work, did it? The professor's terminations came 4 years after his former graduate student, Justin Pickett, blew the whistle on his research. Pickett said they had worked together in 2011 researching whether the public was demanding longer sentences for black and Hispanic criminals as those minority populations grew, with the paper claiming they did. But Stewart had fiddled the sample size to deliver a result when the real research did not. Oh, that's just straight out lying. When the investigation into Stewart began in 2020, he claimed he was the victim and that Pickett essentially lynched me and my academic career. Well, you know, you try to go to the well, you got to, if the stuff in the well has worked for a while, you go to the well again. And apparently this doesn't work because they kicked his ass out and they retracted his articles. There's a lot more, but good. Don't fake some shit. If there's some real shit that you can come up with, I will gladly read it and believe it, but you fake the shit so I don't never believe you again. All right, now back to that, by the way, that ruling in the Fifth Circuit by the about the government no longer being able to censor you on social media. Jay Bhattacharya, who's, I believe, a professor at Stanford University, a infectious disease professor. Like he's like a professor of what they were studying with Stupid 19, right? And he didn't agree with some of the shit that they were saying about Stupid 19. And he, you know, they basically, he got banned from social media because of it. So he's getting rid of a whole article about that, and you can check it out on, I think, is this on Medium? What's this on? The FP, which is the Free Press. I strongly suggest you read it, but now the government has been, I think he might be suing somebody. He should be suing somebody because they took his voice away and regarding Stupid 19. Last week, Federal Appeals Court confirmed that science cannot function without free speech, says Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. And he reflects on a victory for himself and every American because he was part of that lawsuit. So you can read that. I'm not going to go through it today. Last two, and then we're out of here. And then the appeals court also says doctors can sue the FDA for condemning ivermectin as a COVID-19 treatment, resulting in reputational harm. So the Federal Appeals Court allowed for 3 doctors to sue the FDA over a series of website and social media posts condemning ivermectin as a treatment for COVID-19. The doctors allege the FDA exceeded its authority by offering medical advice and that FDA's messaging interfered with their own individual medical practice. Oh, let's go, baby. I hope you win. The lawsuit stems from a series of FDA posts advising consumers not to take horse ivermectin, but failing to acknowledge the existence of human ivermectin formulation, including one tweet advising consumers, "Hold your horses, y'all." Oh! Anyway, the trial court dismissed the doctor's lawsuit after finding sovereign immunity barred their 3 claims. Appeals court reversed one-on-one claim, finding plausible the argument the FDA exceeded its statutory authority by offering medical advice instead of medical information. The FDA is not a physician, It has authority to inform, announce, and apprise, but not to endorse, denounce, or advise. The doctors have plausibly alleged that FDA posts fell on the wrong side of the line between telling about and telling to. The tweet-sized doses of personal medical advice are beyond the FDA's statutory authority. Oh, God, goodness. Anyway, so good. I hope these doctors are successful. It took an appeals court to even let them push their case forward. Finally, I'm finishing up with this because I've been here way too long. Why are some California schools still canceling games for the stupid 19? Oh, good Lord. These poor kids, man. They're just screwing these kids over as much as they can. Several California schools just canceled football games due to stupid 19. At what point do we put this nonsense behind us? California cancellation September 8th. One of the head coaches, Nordoff Dylan Lowen, claimed that he didn't even have enough healthy students to practice. If all those players are very sick, that's not only concerning, but unusual, considering that young people are usually more resistant to COVID. But what about the other school? Matchup between Los Angeles schools Santa Paula and La Canada, is not Canada, but Canada High School, Bay Area schools Esparto and Armador, Nordoff, and Agora were all canceled. Okay, that's a lot of names that I said wrong. Was it because of the weather? No, it was because of the tragic incidents that took place at these schools. No. Or was it that? Thankfully, that wasn't the reason either. All of these games were canceled because of COVID-19 outbreak at least one of the schools in these matchups. Now, wait a minute. As Simmons noted, California previously had draconian COVID vaccination policies. Yet, in late 2023, schools still have to cancel games for the virus. It's almost as if the vaccines didn't work. Oh, no, I can't say that on YouTube. But that's what, so they made all these students get vaccines. Why are they having COVID now? In fact, a new study of California prisons found those vaccinated with COVID boosters are more likely to get COVID. And back in 2021, a study from Tel Aviv University, Israel, found that people vaccinated with Pfizer's BioNTech COVID shot were 8 times more likely to contract the South African COVID-19 variant. Perhaps Nordoff football team has too many vaccinated players. Oh, the fucking irony. All right, I can't even, I'm probably getting nicked for that one. That's it anyway. I've been on this damn screen too long. My hip hurts. I got to walk. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today on the morning, afternoon, night live. Hey, how many of you still here? 24 still here, 25, 26. Hit the like button if you haven't done it already, okay? Both on Rumble and YouTube. And, do all that stuff that I say all the time. Share the stream. It helps even now. And if you want to sponsor the show, pdognight.live, 24 hours a day, Venmo, Cash App, and all that stuff. Hey, I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what time. It's always kind of dependent on when I poop because I know you wanted to hear that. But when you take all these drugs, it gives you other issues too. So I am so happy you joined me today. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Thanks. My name is P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thanks for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.